how's it going? Welcome to Wellthy, your podcast where you can get all things inspiration for living your most wealthy and wellness-filled life. And that's what makes Wellthy happen. I'm one of your co-hosts, Hannah.
Hey guys, and this is Derek, your other co-host. So if this is your first time tuning into Wellthy, Hannah, give us a quick little brief rundown. I think all the episodes so far, I've been kind of the intro guy. I think they want to hear your thoughts a bit.
So Wellthy is a podcast that is educational and inspirational. Maybe there's a reason I don't do this whole intro thing.
Practice.
It's just hard when you talk all day. I mean, you get it. But we are a podcast that is educational, inspirational, and all about giving you the power to live well and wealthy. So we touch on finance, we touch on fitness, we touch on overall wealth and health.
Hellness.
Seriously, what is wrong with me? Wow. Goodness gracious. But yeah, Derek is a is it a certification for you or
licenses.
Accredited? Oh, okay.
Yeah, multiple licenses.
He has multiple licenses in his financial.
I'm a licensed stockbroker.
Yes.
That is the simple way to put it.
But I mean, to get that, like you have multiple licenses to call yourself that.
Exactly.
Yeah. For me, I'm a multi-certified group fitness instructor. I am currently, doing everything, but I'm loving it all.
Business owner.
Business owner, multi-certified group fitness instructor, personal trainer, online business owner, ebook author.
A lot of different ways you're involved in the industry, and I think that's cool. You have a good finger on the pulse of what's going on. It's not just very local spreads.
Yep.
So, but that's us guys. And so, like Hannah said, this is a place you can come for just practical, down-to-earth knowledge, no BS, and no weird sponsorships, ads. We don't care. We don't get paid by anybody. We don't want to get paid by anybody. That's not why we started this. So we're here to help people get the down-to-earth, real, everyday knowledge. So let's jump right into it, unless you had something else you wanted to throw in.
No, I was just going to say, that being said, we are giving you our advice and our personal experiences.
Right.
We're not necessarily making professional recommendations that, like, Derek is not legally able to do that.
I don't want to. Yeah, if you want some one-on-one, let's talk one-on-one, but I don't know your situation, so it's not personalized.
Exactly.
Just like with Hannah and health, it's the same kind of boat.
That's like, I have gotten so many DMs recently of, I am stuck. Can you help me? It's like, if I'm the 8th person that you've DM'd and all 7 of them are like, yeah, just buy my program, you'll be great. And I'm the one that's going, so yeah, what's your diet like? What's your current workout regimen like? What's everything else like? Like, hopefully other people do that too. Cause I mean, you and I are on the same track of, if someone gives you a one size fits all answer, they are a one size fits all no.
Yeah, one size does not fit all.
Yep.
Definitely.
Exactly.
So what are we talking about today? What is today's issue that we want to preach to the people about?
Preach to the people. We are talking about what frequency are you living your life? We're talking about passive lifestyles, reactive lifestyles. Oh my gosh.
Warming up the
passive, reactive, and then active lifestyles.
Yes.
And I can already tell this is going to be an episode that I'm talking with my hands. So
good.
Move all this stuff away because here we go.
It's an active voice.
Absolutely.
So to start off, guys, Hannah can tell you I'm a huge reader. I am always reading. And lately I've been reading from a lot of just mentor type people, trying to learn a little bit about their lives, semi-autobiography type books. And one of them, Ray Dalio, he is the manager, founder, creator of the world's largest hedge fund and one of the most successful funds at that. So, and he wrote this book. He actually hasn't written a lot of books. So it's one of those where when he speaks, you listen because he's not one of those guys. So anyways, I'm reading his book, and one quote or phrase that he threw out that I really liked and I think applied to this. And if you hear weird clicking or heavy breathing. It's just our dog.
Yeah, it's Chesty.
Yeah.
He needs a nail appointment ASAP.
Yeah, but so he's wandering. But anyways, so the quote of what I was reading about, he's talking about kind of he's reflecting back on life, who he became and what he learned and things like that. And this is what one of the things that he said, and I liked it. He says, "What I have seen is that the happiest people discover their own nature and match their life to it." And I think that applies to what we're going to talk about today so much, because I think people try to think of the life they want and match themselves to that, right? They try to change their nature. And that's why people end up unhappy, because they think, oh, well, the world tells me I need to do this or be this person, or for whatever reason, I need to be this image. And so they try to think, okay, well, I can't, then I need to be outspoken even though I'm shy. Well, no, being shy isn't a bad thing. It's about finding the life rather than taking whatever's given you. Find the life that you want to make that fits your nature, and then you'll find happiness. And I mean, this is the guy, he's in that realm of people that money doesn't really matter. Like he doesn't, it's there so much that he doesn't care. He's probably
one of those people that it's like, yeah, follow your bliss, because
right. Because he's had all the money, and
right.
He says multiple times in the book that having more money never made him any happier. It was the good relationships and experiences he had with the people around him along the way of making that money that really gave him joy in a full life. And that's what this reflection was that his nature was just to found businesses, and he loved finance and the markets. And so he just followed his love and his nature of being analytical into a business that he was happy doing it.
Yeah.
And he was able to find happiness there. So I think that's what we'll talk about, guys, is that when we say an active life, a passive life, a reactive life, one is not better or worse than the other. You need to find what fits you, but at the same time, there are bad ways to live each of them.
Yes.
All of them have pros and cons. So we're not going to say you have to be active, go get it, chase it, hustle. It's like, well, yeah, someone might be that way, and that is going to give them happiness. Whereas someone might be on the complete opposite and be the passive person, and they can still find happiness, but it's about finding the right way to live that type of life. So,
well, and I will tell you guys right now that Derek and I are both, actually, we have this in common. We are both we are both one of these things.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we'll kind of go through the episode and see if you can guess which one we are. I mean, this is episode 7.
Yeah.
So I think you guys probably already know by now.
Maybe.
But I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah. So let's get started.
So Hannah, how would you describe a passive life when it comes to wellness?
Okay. So, I mean, and I apologize if I communicate in advance, just if I say something that's, I don't know. Like Derek said, one is not better than the other, but they definitely have pros and cons. So I might just be associating this type of lifestyle with someone who has it that, they might be the first example in my head, and it might not be a good example. So I apologize if I kind of, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? You're
not trying to put anyone down, but at the same time, guys, if we list something that we're saying, hey, this isn't going to lead to happiness, and you say, hey, I do that, it doesn't mean we're trying to think of that person, say you're a bad person. We're saying, hey, we all have things we're trying to get better at. So Don't take it personally.
Yep. Exactly.
We're here to help.
Yeah. So a passive lifestyle and functioning intensity for fitness, for health, for wellness, it just kind of seems like I am going to wait for things to happen to me. There's really, in my mind, there's really no action behind it other than just coasting. And maybe that does, no, because I mean, the examples I keep thinking of are reactive things. So passive, just kind of coasting. Maybe you're setting goals, but you're not necessarily figuring out how to act on them. Or you're just a very mellow person as far as your intensity goes too.
I would say that, and this is just me, when I think of wellness and being passive, it falls into the realm of, well, this is who I am. And period.
Totally.
There is no next sentence. It's not a comma or a semicolon. It's exactly. And that's what we're saying, is that it's okay to say, this is who I am. And whether that means you are big, small, in between, fast, slow, whatever, we need to accept who we are, but at the same time be the best version of ourselves. So you can be passive about your own body image or wellness, but
yeah, you can be accepting of your body image and still be passive. Like, it doesn't mean passive people aren't the lazy people. They've just accepted who they are, and hopefully it's with love. It really makes me sad when I see a passive person accept not accept who they are, but they just say, yep, this is who I am, period. It's in my genes, period.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I can do, period.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're sad about it.
So what would the everyday, or what would some of the habits look like for a person that is living passively the right way?
I think it would be a lot of just internal work, honestly,
like mindset type stuff.
Yeah, mindset type stuff. I mean, again, there's really not a lot of action associated with a passive lifestyle. So, I mean,
but could they still be healthy?
Absolutely.
So what would they do to maintain healthy but still be passive, I guess, is what I'm thinking.
So I guess what I'm saying is that they would already have to have those habits like internally, like inherently inside of them, because they're not going to be actively be saying, I'm going to make myself celery juice every morning. Like, if that's the one thing you're doing, I guess that's kind of passive, but that's also at the same time taking action towards a goal. And that's not what I think of when I think of passive. Yeah,
I get that. I think there could probably be a little bit of a middle ground, in my opinion, too, though. Just, I imagine that if someone is, they're not trying to change their body, so they're not active or reactive, but at the same time, they're still trying to be healthy. So I would think it's someone that their diet, if we're going to just specifically look at diet, we won't create change, but it also, they're not going to get worse. That's the right way to live it. It's saying that you're not saying, well, this is who I am, so I'm going to eat cookies and syrup all day.
No, that would be active in the wrong way.
Or just saying, this is who I am, therefore I do I think it's not saying you can't take any action, because you're not just going to lay on your bed and never get up, right? But I think there's a minimum level of saying, all right, well, this is the line in the sand where if I go above this line, I'll probably get in better shape, but that's not me. And, it's almost hard for me to talk about this because I'm so on the active scale.
Right.
But so it's hard for me to be in this mindset, but I guess I would say, yeah, you have a line in the sand and you say this activity, diet, lifestyle, whatever it may be, this is the bare minimum I do, where I'm not going to be unhealthy, but it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's, I guess, what I was saying by like, they're inherently aware of where they need to be, and they're very intuitive, I guess, that they know their bodies, know, they know what they need to be doing and what they need to be avoiding. I think it's just, they're living a life of homeostasis. They are living within balance. They're not creating a lot of rocking the boat situations for their wellness.
Okay.
And that's not good or bad. Like, it's just, I mean, it can be really great or really bad. Some people who are so far on the active scale might need to scale it back and have a couple passive practices to find that balance. But no, I know a lot of people who are, on one hand, very passive and very poor about it. They make the bad decision. I guess they don't make the bad decisions, but they're not so in tune with what they need to be doing.
Yeah.
And so they allow themselves to fall into bad habits where people who are in tune and intuitive for, the wellness that they need to be interested in, or the foods that they need to be ingesting, they fall into better habits, and I know both of those passive people, and I know people who are passive that kind of float in between the two as well, that it's just like, whatever, but it's not bad or good, but
I think I like what you said about it having a balance too, as being the right way, that there's not big swings.
No, I think it's perfect. Like, your line in the sand, it's like they are the line in the sand.
Yeah, they are the line.
Yeah, I mean, and when we talk about reactive, that'll be people that kind of have a little fluctuation on,
Or they might have, if in the bad example, they might have the big swings.
Yes.
For the reactive.
I'm just saying, like, as far as intensity, like, okay, sure. Yep.
Okay. No, finish your thought.
No, it's okay. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Did you have anything else though for the passive person living? I mean, I think that the good example is just kind of that where you don't need to beat to death the bad example because it's so obvious, you know?
Yeah. No, I think it's homeostasis. I think that's the definition I want to keep for passive, is just they are beings that are living within a balanced lifestyle. They are not trying to change their lifestyle in any one direction. They are in tune and trying to be as intuitive as they can for their lifestyle, but not rock the boat.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
How about for wealth?
I think that wealth, the passive people, like you said, it's very much mindset where whether or not you're going to be happy or not, because in my mind, the passive example would be I think the popular example is, well, you don't need money. I could live in a shack, but as long as I've got my family, I'm happy, you know? And okay, fine. If you can truly be happy and content, that's I think where the passive person falls in for wealth of good or bad, right? The person that can be happy living a passive wealth life, they have to actually be happy. And I think that's what's hard about and makes the whole quote unquote passive lifestyle such a difficult thing. It's like when we talked about comparison, you know, and we said like kind of a slippery slope. It's a dangerous game to play because people will use that as an excuse. So like, oh, well, I'm just a passive person, you know, and that's not what we want. We don't want you guys just to say, well, that sounds hard. And it sounds like, you know what I mean? When there might be that little bit of a fire inside of you that's like, well, I do want to work harder and I do want to pursue something and I have goals, and then you're not a passive person. I'm sorry, you're not.
Well,
I think that very few people are truly a passive person. So don't put yourself in there just out of kind of an excuse to be lazy.
No, and I agree, kind of flipping it back to health. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
But I think people are that same way as far as health goes, you know, and I tried to say this at the beginning of where I was at, but you just hit it on the head of you say you're passive just to say you're, you know, it's I am the way I am as an excuse, but then deep down you're like, I wish I wasn't the way I was.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well then you're not a passive person, just like you said.
Yeah, well, just like what you said.
So it's true though. And you know, it's the same thing as the people that say, well, I'm not good at math. No, you've never put work into math. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of a stuff where you don't know if you're inherently good or bad at anything. I think the reason people do that, it's like, how much math do you really do as a child? You do a lot of reading. Reading is very, you know, children's books. There's signs everywhere. You always want to know what things are. So you're always reading. If there was numbers all over the place and you were surrounded by math equations on your walls, like you'd probably be, oh, you're just good at math. It's like, no, I just grew up around math.
Yeah.
You know, I learned it. So, but anyways, passive when it comes to wealth is the person that on the bad side, they're always the victim. They're always oh, this thing happened, whatever. I'm not going to do anything about it. Too bad. It's not about you. I can't do anything. And they're just filled with excuses and there's no game plan. There's no plan whatsoever. There is just, it is what it is. I can do nothing about it. And it's just a load of excuses. And like I said, on the good side though, which I think is the very, very rare case, is the person that can say, yeah, I'm truly happy with my humble livings as long as I have, you know, family or whatever it may be that does give you that happiness. But you are the exception, not the rule.
Do you think someone could be passive in their wellness, but not in their finances? Like, do you think all people, like in every situation, would be passive, or do you think it kind of fluctuates from situation to situation?
Well, I think yes. I think like it does fluctuate because I was also, and I think let's hit on this more towards the end. I do think that all of us will go through stages and situations where we might be all of these at some point in time. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So yeah, I do think that people can at some point be passive. And I think that at the same time, it depends on where you're putting your focus and energy, right? Like, especially if you are a active or reactive person, which I think that is the majority of us are either of these two. I think it's probably, like a, what would it be? A 49% and 49%. So we get 98% of us fall in these two categories. And the last 2% of us are the passive people, right? The vast majority of us passive reactive. So I think we flip flop back and forth between the two, or both of those categories have that moment where they say, okay, I am actively or reactively pursuing this thing right now. I'm focused on it. I'm concentrated on it. So I'm going to lower or decrease my attention on this other thing. And that may become more of a passive back burner. But so I guess, kind of in that mindset, but I mean, that's pretty much, I think, passive when it comes to wealth is the excuses, don't have a plan. And you're
I mean, that's the bad side of passive though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the good side is the rarity, I think. Yeah. Where you can be happy. And I think that you maybe an age, like in the book I'm reading, right. From Ray Dalio, he is definitely on the wealth side of things. He is in the passive stage now. He's like, I am not actively pursuing wealth. He's done that. He is in the process of giving away as much as he can.
Yeah.
And he is much, that is not an active pursuit for him now. His active pursuit is just those relationships he's built, the friends and the memories and, and reflecting and looking back and looking to passing on his thing. So, right.
I think, with age and, I guess seasoned people who like can find that happiness through passive. And I think too, I know it's an episode we want to do as like pretty soon, but I think it's people who are deep into their maintenance stage.
Right.
Like we will do more of
Sorry, Chusty is attacking our stuff right now.
What are you doing? Come out, please. Could you go out? So people who are, well within their maintenance stage, they're not losing, they're not gaining in their finances or their fitness. They might be finding that passive pro right now, and I kind of think of like older ladies, who they're like, yep, I spent the 60 years previous, being healthy and trying to look good. Now I'm just going to enjoy life.
Right.
And I think that's really cool. And I agree. Like, it seems like, unfortunately, in younger years, it's easier to slip into the passive cons and like into that lifestyle.
Right.
And then hopefully eventually we'll all find a passive, happy, pro lifestyle.
Well, and I think what you're saying too, and what we're hitting on a lot is that it almost sounds like it's earned.
Kind of. Yeah.
Like I said, most of us aren't that person. So the rest of us, we're trying to get to the point where it's like, I've earned, that's retirement, right? I have put in the work and been active or reactive, whatever. I have done the work to get to that point where I can be passive about my income because I'm comfortable about it.
Totally.
The thing is, if you can't pay your bills, you can't buy groceries, it's kind of hard. If you're starving, if you're hungry, it's hard to be passive about that, right? Like,
yes.
So yes, very situational, but let's keep moving. So, okay. So let's hit active. Let's just go to the total flip. And I think reactive is kind of that weird middle ground where we'll pull from each side.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go to the total opposite of active, wealth to hit that.
The opposite of passive. Yeah. To hit active. Okay. So for wealth, you said, or
health, you take it away.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you got it.
So I think it is, the go-getters, and I mean, that's the hard thing is like, does active lifestyle mean you're like grabbing life by the balls? Does it mean you're saying yes to everything? Does it mean you are, like you can't say no? And I don't think so. I don't think that's
No, I think most of that I wouldn't agree with.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, and they might be the con side of active, they might take it too far and just be doing the extreme of an active lifestyle. Active lifestyle to me just means moving forward and, actively setting goals and then actively making a plan behind them.
Yes.
A plan of
the
attack.
plan, right.
Exactly. So, I mean, and there are people that understand like goals have to have action, where people who are passive, like we just spoke about, like they might not even have goals, or if they do, they kind of don't accept or put a plan into action behind it.
Yeah. Or they don't even have that desire.
Yeah.
There's why would I make a goal? Because there's nothing that I want.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I think it's just so, I don't know. I think of like aggressive driving. Like you are driving in your own lane as quick as, like, not as quick as you can, but like you're confident, you are going your speed and you're watching out for other people and other cars, but it's like other people need to watch out for you too. Like you are, your path, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think some pros are that, it's an active lifestyle. You are moving forward. There's change. There is that stress. There's a good type of stress and a bad type of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about like cortisol levels rising, because that's the bad type of stress. I'm talking about like you are pushing yourself to the point of, your muscles changing and reshaping, or your mindset, when you're hitting rock bottom and then you decide to come out of that, like that's a mindset change, and that's putting stress on your mind, your ways, whatever. I think living an active lifestyle is constantly looking for those experiences and putting yourself in those situations of high intensity, high intensity living.
I like it. That's cool.
Yeah.
High intensity living. Going back to what you just said, I think too, about the rock bottom thing is the active person that, they're to them, they know rock bottom is there, and they are actively doing whatever it takes to never be there.
Yeah.
So they don't get to that point, hopefully, right? That's their plan. They're actively doing whatever it takes to, I know what rock bottom is, never been there, don't want to be there, right? Because the person that hits rock bottom comes out, I would say that's a reactive person.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, just wanted to throw that out. I think the active person has the mindset of they're aware of the pitfalls. They're aware of the bad side of, and I think they have the mentality of, if I don't do this, what will happen? They're very consequence driven, whether that's a bad things will happen, or if I do this, these are my rewards.
Yeah.
They're very consequence driven.
No, and I think, these are the people who, just some cons, or I guess it can be pros or cons, but they're the people who don't miss a day at the gym, because what happens if, I do,
Right.
like whatever the thing is that they're scared of,
that's me,
or that's motivating them, they are going to have that be at the front of their brain all the time. And it's kind of weird. It's this weird half step between like being defensive and aggressive in a lifestyle, because it depends on what makes you active. Is it a fear-based goal? That it's like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to get fat, or I don't want to be poor. So it's like, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to not be those things.
Yeah.
Where it's like people could say, I want to be the strongest I possibly can,
Mhm.
whatever that looks or feels like.
Right.
Or I want to be as stable and secure as I can be in my finances,
Mhm.
whatever that looks or feels like. Where it's like, it's such a cool mindset where you can choose of how you're driven. And I personally think goals should always be oriented on the positive side, because usually you'll have the more positive narrative as you go about those goals. Instead of saying like, I can't do that, I have to do this because of I am scared of this happening if I don't,
Mhm.
where it's like, no, I get to do this. I choose to do this.
Well, let me ask you this. So your sports background, right? In case anybody doesn't know, Hannah grew up playing multiple sports, track, tennis, softball, a lot of different things. So she comes from a competitive background. So as someone with that background, I'll say
Okay.
when you were actively competing, were you more motivated by the fear of losing or the joy of winning? Which one is in the back of your mind when you're on that tennis court or on that field, whatever? what were you thinking in the back of your head of like, this is why I'm here and this is why I'm taking the pain and whatever?
Joy of winning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So motivated by the, oh my gosh, apparently we're being attacked.
Didn't he do this last time too? Because I swear you said that.
Yeah.
No, I was usually always motivated by the joy of winning, but it kind of depended on the sport.
Yeah.
Like softball, my high school team sucked. Like we were awful. Like, and unfortunately in Utah with our region, we had a mercy rule. And I think during the season that I actually played, I think we finished like only 1 or 2 games.
Is that like the 10 run, if they get like 10 or more ahead at the end of an inning and you can't do anything to help? Like, it's just like, all right, this is over.
Well, I mean, I was a great, basewoman. Like I was either out in the field, like left field, third and short were my places. Like, cause I could throw the ball literally anywhere and get it there.
I've heard the stories. There are legends about Hannah, guys. You don't even know.
I'm amazing, but I couldn't hit worth crap. So it's like, cause I'm a tennis player, like at heart. So, and you can't hit a tennis swing. That's why I can't
golf. Baseball ruined me.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Bummer. But, so yeah. So, I mean, it depended on the sport, swimming, softball. I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
I did both of them for 1 season each just because I wanted to try them.
Mm-hmm.
Swimming, I was never a confident swimmer. So I was just like, if I could learn by the end of the season to do an underwater flip against the wall, I'll be happy.
Yeah, forget winning the race or whatever. Yeah. I just want to be able to do the cool thing and be like, this is what swimmers do.
But I had to be like 2 hands on the wall to turn.
What?
Head above water and then push off.
So everyone's already halfway back and you're just
I was coming. Fast. Like I was good at diving. Once I figured out how to, and then I was good at the swimming part. But then, so I'd be in front of people and then have to do my stupid old woman turn on the wall. And then people would be finishing the race already. And I'm like, okay. Track, it was a little bit harder because I'm fast, but I know I'm not the fastest
So what was motivating you?
Usually I had to pee. So
Okay, this is derailed into Hannah's life story of sports.
No, you asked. I'm sorry.
What motivates you?
No, what motivated me for track was probably just the joy of doing it. Yeah. So for track and tennis,
interesting.
It was the joy of just doing it. And I mean, not necessarily winning. I didn't win a lot of races on my own on track. I won a lot of tennis, but at the same time, I was so worried about winning and feeling that joy and making almost being celebrated by everybody else. I wasn't ever worried. My parents, never punished me for losing a match. I wouldn't.
So you didn't really play sports then?
No, I just didn't have your dad. Shout out to, hey. No, but so I was never scared to lose, but I loved the feeling of winning.
Yeah.
So half the matches I lost were because I was just so worried about winning. And I was I had to go to a sports psychologist.
What?
Yeah. Because if I started losing, I would just get in my head about it. Or if I was too far winning, all of a sudden I would lose the match because I was
you just
already done.
Throw it. You'd be I did it. I won. And it's you still have half a match to go.
Yeah. So I
mean, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. So
dropping the pack, huh?
Everyone, what?
Us just when you give up mentally, but you're not done with the hike or whatever you're doing. You're dropping your pack. It's you don't drop your pack yet. We still got another mile to go.
Well, it's I drop my pack and then I try to run up the hill and it's oh, but I left my water.
Yeah.
I left my snack.
Huh.
But I mean, I always think, this is where the only reason I'm I have that weird high school mentality that our dads have of just
those were the glory days.
You should have seen me back in my prime.
Oh my gosh.
Because if I would have had my mental toughness that I do even now, I would be playing in the US Open. I'm convinced.
I'll be quick. What motivated me, and I've realized this over the last probably year or two, is that I have always been fear motivated, a fear of failure.
Which after hearing that, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I have a fear of failure, but what's interesting about it is, besides just being that normal fear of failure, is that it comes from 2 places, right? So let's take football, for example, right? Where I was never the best because it was hard for me when I was growing up. I wasn't very strong. I was big in the wrong way and I wasn't very fast and I wasn't aggressive growing up. I was a very timid kid. So football was very hard for me to be good at because it was hard to match the other kids. You know, I always felt outmatched. So what pushed me to play harder was that I felt like I was running away from the failure of, oh my gosh, like I am already bad. I don't want to be worse. I want to be better kind of a thing. I felt like it was that, you know, hanging over me. And then, flip to like another sport or something else I was better, like maybe like baseball. I was a little better. I wasn't like some all-star or anything, but you know, I was okay.
You could have played college, babe.
No. And but because I had so much fun with it, was that I was still afraid of failing because if I failed or got worse, it wouldn't be fun anymore. So no matter what side of the coin, if I was good at something, and it's still that way today, even with my fitness today, right? Like we've talked about, I got the habits down. I perform pretty well. Like, you know, physical fitness tests, I do pretty good. But now the status quo is set. And if I drop below my own bar I've set for myself, that's that failure that pushes me. I'm like, I can't underperform against myself. It's like when anyone else could look at me and be like, you've come so far. You're doing so great. What's wrong? And it's like, no, like, so it's kind of hard. I haven't never
we fight on this, you know, where it's like, can you just please take a Saturday morning off? Like I don't have to get up. Can we just like have a morning cuddle sesh?
It's like 5 a.m. Bye, babe. I got to go to the gym because
together,
if
like,
I slow down.
Exactly. Yeah. So
well, even today we had a lot going on, and just because of our scheduling, I had to get up at 4 a.m. to go work out. So I chose to get up at 4 a.m. to go work out just because if I didn't, we wouldn't have time to record, and, you know, just where our schedules were worked out. So yeah. And that could be one of those things that Hannah was saying, getting back to active lifestyles, where that could be a good or a bad thing. I'll let you guys decide because I don't care. I'm going to do what I want to do. I wanted to work out this morning, so I did. But it's that some people could look at that and be like, dude, like just take the rest. Like you do a lot. Your body probably needs the rest. Take the sleep. I've got a lot going on at work mentally right now. So it's like, maybe you just need the extra rest. Your body will catch up. You're fine. You're still sore from previous workouts. But then there's me that's saying, no, because that's one more hour or that's one more workout behind of where I could be.
Yeah.
So if I'm always ahead of it, I'm always like racing against myself.
And I think you undervalue and undercredit how much your workouts are your therapy.
Oh yeah, they totally are.
I think that's where you could give the importance, as opposed to like if you decided you wanted a mindset change. And not to therapize you right now. But
yeah, no, I come home happier and in a better mind state every time I go work out.
But I'm saying like that could be your motivator, you know, the joy of feeling that way after your workout.
It's becoming more so.
Yeah. And I think
definitely
I've noticed that more in you. So, yeah. I mean, that's an awesome little mindset shift. Good job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any last notes on living an active health?
No, I think these are just our go-getters, you know, whether that's benefiting them or kind of to their detriment.
But I think a big thing to note was to contrast against the passive was plans, goals, plans, desires, action.
But at the same time, the con that I want to talk about quick, these are the people that are trying every fad underneath the sun.
Yeah, it could be. You could be chasing it so hard that you're willing to grab at anything instead of, like we talked about before, get some consistency under your belt.
Exactly. So an awesome pro of active people is they go for what they want and they stick with it. You know,
well, that's the right way to do it, right? You go and you stick with it.
I mean, even if they don't though, like if you go try a different fitness class every day of the week or a different workout style, you know, or eat a different diet way, you know, if you eat vegan on Monday and keto on Wednesday and chocolate based on is there a diet? Whoever is writing the book on chocolate based diets, please reach out to me.
You're just describing a stomach ache.
No, but I think, I mean, that's okay. Like if you love the weird stuff, you just can't say I love or I am doing all this stuff but I hate it. You know, it's like you need to choose to love it either way.
Well, that's the thing, right? Being happy with it.
Yes.
I'm happy doing my pace.
But then, the con side of it is the people are always chasing the finish line. They could be fear motivated. They could be joy motivated. whatever it is, but they are buying into what people are selling.
Mhm.
And I think that's to their detriment. You know, they're trying the silly fads, the anything that might work fads, just because their goal and their plan is so oriented, but their maybe education and their motives aren't so in line. Yeah. So
Right.
I mean, that's active.
Pros and the cons.
Yes.
Motives
How about
are
for
huge.
wealth?
Wealth on active, it's so similar. And I think that's why our topics pair so well, is because, again, it's you have a plan, you know what you're doing, and you know why you're doing it. That's pretty much it. Like, if you are living an active life as far as your wealth goes, you're saying, this is what I'm going to do career wise. You know, whether you are an entrepreneur, you are just climbing the ladder at your company, you know, whatever you're doing, you're aware of what you're doing. You know where you want to end up, and you're taking the steps every day to make that happen. And you're the first person, you know, you take the first step. You're not I got a job and my boss came to me and said, hey, if you do A, B, and C, I'll give you a raise because you've just been sitting around for the last 3 years at this job. That's not an active person. The active person comes in and says, this is my job, and immediately asks, what is next? Like first day on their mind is, or even before that, they look at the application for whatever job they're doing, whatever it may be. Like we're going very basic,
what's
right?
The promotion?
And they say, yes, okay, cool. This is entry level. What's next? Before they even get an interview.
Yeah.
That's the active person is. They are so far down the road mentally that it may be a waste of mental energy, right?
Yeah.
Like how I used to get a little manic. We talked about, you know, I'd get so far down the road and it's like, okay, no, let's pull it back a little bit. And you don't need to plan out the whole earth right now and chase everything right now. Like, do right now. So the good
it can
person,
be a great thing.
Yeah.
And then also really, not great for some.
Yeah, and exactly. Same other like real world everyday applications for the active person and their wealth is they have a budget, right? They know what money comes in, what money goes out, why. They have a plan for retirement. They have a plan for everything. Everything is accounted for. Like, you know what I mean? They're aware. Awareness, I think, is a huge part of the active person. And it's awareness prior to any event. That is what sets them apart from a reactive person.
Totally.
It's not, whoa, we ended the month and we don't have enough money. Okay, well, a reactive person goes down that path. Mm-hmm. A bad reactive person. A good active person says, oh, I see what could come, and these are the steps I'm taking to prevent that. So that's pretty much it. But like I said, they're so similar in mindsets. I
think there's a lot of cons, though, on the wealth side of things for active. You know, has everyone heard the song 7 Rings by Ariana Grande? You know, if your receipts are looking like phone numbers, you know, and you don't have the financial stability and strength to hold that up, that might be scary because you know what you want. Or active person, you know what you want. You're going to go get it. You're going to go buy it.
Oh, yeah. If you want to flip down that, yes, it could be a very, very total opposite where the activity is swiping the card, and you know what I mean? It's so far opposite that it almost doesn't need to be said. That it's, you know, the good is the good, the bad is the obvious. You are having good habits of you're actively saving, you're actively working, you're actively planning. The bad person is the spend, trying to put on an image of
and maybe
wealth,
not
I think.
Bad person, but like bad side of active bad.
Yeah. Okay. You could be a good person, but you have bad habits. You know, you're going about it the wrong way.
And I think everyone in their life will probably step into each thing of bad passive, good passive, you know, blah, 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 all the way up the ladder until you finally settle on who you really are. Yeah,
exactly. And that's up to you to look into yourself and who am I? Do that self-assessment Hannah's talked about of who am I? Why am I the way I am right now? And what's best for me. So, but let's keep going on to reactive. So do you want to take us with health?
Yeah. So reactive, I of course thought of all my good examples when we were talking about passive. So
I knew that. I felt that brainwave coming. So I changed it anyways.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I seriously, do you want to just go first for this one? Because I mean,
for reactive?
Yeah,
sure.
Go first for reactive.
Yeah. So just rolling down from It's that
And then
middle
I'm
ground.
probably just going to interrupt you and be like, oh, wait, this is what I was going to say.
Nope, you lost your chance now.
Okay, well.
No, the reactive person is the weird hybrid where they will be passive until something bad happens. That could be good, but that doesn't make like an event happens and then, oh, I need to do this all of a sudden. And, you know, if it spurs you to good action, like it's kind of one of those things that's good, better, best. All right, it's good that you know, like, let's say lost a job, right? It's good that when you lose your job, you react and you attack it and you don't mope and you just say, all right, cool. And you almost flip into more of the active, right? Reactive. So something happens, you are now active. The good side, the pro side of being reactive, living that way is that when the bad things happen, you are able to flip into being a more active person. You take the action necessary. You make your plan, you take your daily steps, you know, you do what you need to do to fix your situation. But what I want to point out with this, though, is that the reactive person or an active person could look at that reactive person and say, well, maybe if you'd been more active, you wouldn't have lost your job in the first place. And this is barring weird outside circumstances. You know, if a company goes under, stuff like that, yes, it's out of your hands. But I'm talking about situations where it's maybe the reactive person was living in the passive side of things at their job where they were just, I show up, I punch my clock, I do the bare absolute minimum, and I leave. And because nothing has been stirring them, they're waiting for some sort of stimulus. So it doesn't push them to do any good. So they're the first on the chopping block when it comes time to cut people.
I'm kind of thinking of the person that's always late.
Like the 2 minutes late.
You know
what I mean?
2 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, they just barely, it's like, all right.
Where it's like their shift starts during like, you know, in the afternoon. So it's like, oh, sorry, I hit a school zone. Or like no matter what. Or like there's an event on their way and they just didn't know about it or they didn't, you know, or like snowstorms. We deal with that a lot this time of year, especially where it's like, oh man, people showing up late because it's like, oh, my street wasn't plowed. But it's like you could have left 15 minutes earlier and been fine, you know, had you looked out your window, you know, 2 minutes earlier to know that you needed to leave. So yeah, I think of that person that it's like, well, no wonder why you got fired. You know, you weren't being active about it. But I mean, again, that's kind of the more negative side of a reactive lifestyle where I think there could be some positive. You know, they might be living in the present a little bit more.
Yeah, they could be. But I think at the same time, to me, a reactive person is this weird person where you are a passive person until something forces you to be active. You know what I mean? It's almost like there is no reactive. There's just a passive person that's willing to be active when they absolutely have to be. Yeah. You know? And so I don't think that there's like this, it's hard for me to define the way we have with the other two, this, okay, a reactive person is good this way. Like you can be happy as a reactive person this way. Like I almost don't think you can be because you'll constantly be caught in this world of, well, I want to be passive because I don't want to do these things, but stuff happens and now I have to do this, right?
But those are the people who function well in high stress situations, you know, that they almost wait until there is a to-do list of 20 things, you know, that they, you know, whatever it may be, but like, and it's unfortunately like maybe they won't be happy, but like that's people can naturally fall here and naturally want to live here or choose to live there.
I'm sure there's a niche somewhere where these people fall. It's hard for me to think of one, you know, because like I said, I'm so on the active side, guys. So if I seem biased, it's because I am a person. So obviously I will be that when I see in my mind's eye a reactive person, it's, well, you wouldn't have to be reacting if you were prepared. If you had thought just a little bit ahead, you know, this reactive, like, oh, I'm so good under stressful situations. Well, don't put yourself in the stressful situation in the first place. Yeah. And as well, when you say, oh, well, the reactive person, you know, maybe the stressful situation was like an emergency, like, you know, and it can't be planned for. It's, well, the active person has lived their life in a way where they've been all constantly developing themselves that maybe they're better in an emergency than that reactive person. Because the reactive person, like I said, in my mind, and this is just me. So Hannah, when I give my spiel, you give your spiel, and we'll probably be different, and that's okay. But in my mind, the reactive person, like I said, their default is passive, right? And the default passive person, you know, if you're trying to be reactive, you won't be happy because life is going to force you into activity, but you're not naturally happy as a passive person. So you'll always feel like you're chasing something. You'll always be the victim, and you'll always feel like, why does this happen to me? Instead of, well, I chose this to happen and I knew what the consequences would be, and now I'm just reacting to those. You know, I feel like that's, I guess, if you have to, the good side of the reactive is well, I kind of have a plan maybe, and I'll just kind of wing it as I go and respond to those situations. If I have to come up with a good situation for them. But yeah, it's hard for me. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I think reactive people are almost the people who hear of an opportunity and then choose to go after it. You know, they're not the ones looking for it, you know, and I'm just trying to play, because I think we heard a lot of the negative side of things yours.
Yeah.
So
no, I like what you said, though. That's a good example. You know, I hadn't thought of that.
They might just be chilling at work, and yeah, it's more passive, but they actually hear about it and choose to do something about it, as opposed to being like, I heard about this and I'm just going to wait and see if they happen to offer it to me. You know, where it's like they hear about it and they're like, I'm going to put my resume in and see what happens. Whereas the active person's like, I made that thing happen because it's like, I told the management that was a need, and I
created the position.
Exactly. Like
that's a good example. I like that.
I walked in with my resume and I made the need be known.
Right.
But yeah, so reactive, I think they might say like, oh, this was my example. Yes. Okay.
Go.
So it's like they're the people that don't really necessarily try stuff on their own. I think you nailed it on the head with they are a little bit more passive by nature.
Yeah.
But they at least are still looking, or they're aware of opportunities when they do present themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're not searching with a telescope trying to find opportunities. So they might be the people that hear of some friends going to try a new workout, you know, and they go, you know, as opposed to being the first person saying, hey, I just saw this new exercise class. Like, everybody come try it with me. Mm-hmm. They're the ones in the group message.
Like, okay, that sounds fun. Sure. I'll go.
Yeah, I'll try it.
So, okay, I'm catching your drift. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yes.
The right way to live that reactive life is more of a open-minded.
Yeah.
You are prepared mentally. It's more living in a state. You may not be taking those actions, and you're not just sitting around. You're saying, all right, well, I'm okay with where I'm at. You know, like, I'm okay with the job position I'm in. I'm not the best. I'm not the worst. I'm just that middle person, which is funny because they're kind of the middle of the two we've talked about. But at the same time, if a promotion opens up, I'm definitely going to apply. Yeah. You know, and so they'll see some progress. Whereas the flip side of that, the not so good way to live it, is the person that is closed-minded, is inflexible. They react, but only when they're forced to react in negative situations, instead of saying, whoa, a positive thing popped open. I've been waiting for this, or I've wanted a positive thing. Cool. I like that. They're ready to see.
Yeah, and I do stick by that they might be a little bit more present of the other two. Mm-hmm. You know, not that passive or living in the past or whatever, but they're just stagnant. You know, they are homeostasis. They're worried about balance. Active people are constantly looking forward.
Yeah.
Or maybe not even forward, but they are just not present. You know, they're not current. Where, reactive people are living in the present and just kind of open to opportunities.
Tell me if this is any good.
Tell me.
The active people, you're the driver of the car on a road trip. Reactive are the co-pilot in the front seat. You know, they're there. They can do things if opportunity open. You know, if called upon, they can drive. If called upon, they can do whatever. They can be the person that runs out and grabs the food, throws something away, whatever. And then the passive, they're just passengers in the back. They're looking out the windows. They're sleeping. You know, they're just doing their thing. But yeah, it's like, I'm not really going to drive up in the driver's seat. And I don't really even want to do, so, I mean, how do you think? That's pretty good. I don't know.
I think that's good. But as the person who's always asleep in the back,
you take offense to that?
I kind of take offense. I almost think of it as like, you're a group of 3 that like of friends who are out in a new place. There's the natural leader who is going to decide, this is where we're going next. This is who we're going to see. This is what we're going to do. The passive person's like, oh, great. That sounds awesome. But they're not the ones on Yelp looking and kind of vetting places and venues.
They'll find something wherever they go that fits their bill.
And then the passive person's just hands in pockets, just like, yeah.
Right. Okay, cool.
So passive is just hanging out. They're kind of third wheeling the situation. They're not being dead weight by any means. Like they're still going to jump in the selfie and like have fun.
Sure.
The reactive person is, kind of, active person. That's a good idea. That's like, that sounds good. Or maybe even throwing in another option because.
Right. The reactive is, we're looking, active person says, guys, we need dinner.
And like,
this is my option. Right. And then reactive person says, okay, well, I see your one option. Now that I know we're looking for dinner, here's a couple more options.
Exactly.
They're involved, but they're not the one that says, in 2 hours, we need dinner. They're just, okay, we're here. This is what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
And passive's just like, I'm good with whatever.
Yeah. And then,
But I'll be happy. The good version of passives, I'll be happy with wherever we go.
Right. And I mean, I want to end this on the positive side.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm saying. All 3 of the examples you've given so far are the positive people. That's how we would be reacting in a.
Yeah. And then the active person would be, figuring out the way to get there, where to go, who to see. Right. Yeah. All that stuff. Like I'm always the active person, like in like a traveling group, aside from my family, because we all kind of shift and want to be the active person. And
yes, I've seen it
where, it's, which I love. Like, it's great that we're all natural born leaders, but, like in China, when I lived in China, it was like, I would know how to get to point A to point B to point D and all the way through Z. And then everyone else would be like, I'm just going to give you the money and you plan the trip and then we'll just go. Okay. And I'm like, okay, sure.
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, that way makes a little bit more sense just because, I'm the person who's snacking in the back or, DJing in the front seat, like those resonate with me. Okay. I do love driving though. So, I mean, sorry to snag your analogy and make it better, but
I think it was just different. So how I wanted to wrap this up, because we're at the end, guys, is that with today's, not even today, this is what happens, okay, with media and culture, is that we swing. We swing as far as what we as a society approve of, right? So the last 40 years, it has been the active people are the champions. You better be the type A. You need to be the extrovert. You need to be the go-getter. It's not bad, right? I want to emphasize that real quick. None of these are bad inherently.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's if you're the good example of each one of these, wherever you fall,
good on you.
Good on you. Great. That's who you are. Move on with life. Okay. So what I'm saying though is that right now we are in the middle of a shift away from the actives where it's almost like, guys, we're starting to throw negativity at the people that are the go-getters, the type A's, the alpha whatevers, whatever you want to call them, where we say, ew, wow, you're not aggressive and you're so this. And, I don't need to do that. And it's weird. And it's like, that's the backlash. And I hate that. Not because I fall in that category, but because that's not what we're all about with Wellthy and who we are. That's not the kind of message we want to teach. It's that, okay, cool. If people are starting to shift focus and the world is becoming more understanding of the reactives and passives out there, great. Understanding is wonderful. And we need to promote that without putting down whoever we're shifting away from.
Totally. And I think there's also a shift, especially in social media, because that's where I'm very present. There's a big shift in like honoring and applauding the people who are the bad side of reactive and the bad side of passive as well. It's like, I mean, they're the haters. They're the negative people. Like,
right.
Somehow they get, 1.3 million followers, that just love the bad vibes, which is really weird.
Yeah.
But I am so with you on just because we're shifting away from applauding and putting emphasis on the positive side of the active people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't put down them just because we're giving more attention to the positive passives and the positive reactives. You know, if we're on the positive scale of things, good on us. Like, wherever
Right.
you're at and whatever season of life you're in, like, good on you. You know, if you have lived reactive or active your whole life to be able to be a positive passive person,
Mm-hmm.
good for you. Like, and own that. You know, if you are retired early, like, good for you. Like, don't feel bad about it at all.
No, I think
And then, yeah.
Sorry, finish
No,
what you're saying.
I'm just saying that, like, I think it's too bad that a lot of people feel like they have to apologize for the success that they've created for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what, if they got it through active or reactive or even being passive, if they're happy and successful, it sucks that it's kind of turned into a thing that you have to apologize for. And you have to act like it's either no big deal or that you really hated the whole journey along the way.
The entrepreneur in a business suit hating on the hippie or the surfer, right? Like, that's so dumb because both of you are in your element and happy in your element, right? So do your thing and don't worry about the other person. And my last example, just to illustrate this and wrap it up, is at my work. Okay. I'm definitely the active, attack guy. And we have another woman on my team and in my group at work who I would say she's more on the passive side, but she kicks butt at work. Like, she is a integral part of our group. She's a wealth of knowledge. People turn to her for advice, for guidance, for answers. You know what I mean? She is doing well in her career. That's the point. I am active. She's passive. We're both doing well. And in the other side, there's another gentleman on my team and in my group that he's the reactive. Again, doing well. He is progressing. He was just doing his thing, going to work. He set himself up so that when opportunity came along, which it did, he took it. Opportunity came up. We said, hey, who wants to do this? He said, I want to do this. Boom, he did it. And now he's going down this path. So I just want to point that out, that real life example that I see every day is 3 completely different types that we talked about, all 3 being very successful in their career and no less important or integral to the company that we're working with. So it doesn't matter what type, we're all doing well.
And that being said, and I love that. Like, I love that you rounded that out and you really showed value for all 3 of those, especially in the workplace. Like, that's huge.
In a corporate workplace, nonetheless,
like
where it used to be all,
and you've worked blue collar jobs, and I mean,
worked all the jobs
you have, but I think it goes the same for wellness and just like living. If you are on the positive side of things, you are going to be successful and you're going to be able to find success or make the success happen. So just keep striving for your happiness in whichever one you naturally fall into. Don't fall into the bad habits that can easily be found on any of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Strive for the happy, strive for the positive, strive for the good habits, everything good and keeping it positive, and you are just going to keep putting or making or following a path that will get you where you need to go.
Right.
And yeah, I think that was a great episode. Good job, Derek.
Yeah, guys, find who you are, and that sounds so cliche, but just be who you are. Don't let media and everything sway you into you need to be this, you need to be that.
No, let's take it that all of us are getting accepted now. It's not just the active people getting, cheered on. Like, we all have room now to share the spotlight, and let's take it. Be the person, just own it.
Exactly.
Find your bliss. And thank you guys so much for listening to Wellthy, episode 7.
Yep, episode 7, guys. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us social media. Hannah, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook by Health by Hannah. Or I guess at Health by Hannah. Just how it sounds. We as a podcast are also just on Twitter for find us at Wellthy Podcast. And we also have an email, wellthypodcast@gmail.com, right? Is that it?
Exactly.
I set that up. And then Derek, where can we find you on social media?
I'm just at Derek Spawn for everything. DerekSpohn. That's Instagram and Twitter. I'm more active on Twitter and through the Wellthy Podcast. Hannah and I will post and we'll throw out and we'll put our names at the end so you know which one of us are saying something. But that's pretty much it, guys. Seriously, though, we are serious when we say if you have questions for either or both of us specific to your situation, reach out through any of those methods. We are happy to help. But we hope you've enjoyed the episode. We hope you've liked it so far. Rate, review, subscribe. Do you have any last words, Hannah?
Nope. I was just going to say rate, review, subscribe, and please just, we know how podcasts spread. You know, it is word of mouth. So if we aren't a podcast you talk about already, let us know how we can be, or just start talking about it. If you're listening, we're worth talking about. So please listen, please rate, review, subscribe. Please tell some people at work that we're worth listening to. And thanks, you guys.
Thanks for listening, guys. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.